Hi, I'm Amy Romeo of Amy Romeo Crafts, and in this video I'll be showing you how to make these really pretty bookmarks using faux leather, heat transfer vinyl, and a Cricut. If you're ready to learn how to make this project, let's go ahead and dive right in. The SVG file for this project is available in my shop. It's part of my holiday faux leather crafting event where I'm sharing a brand new holiday SVG and video tutorial every day for 20 days. I'll leave a link on the screen for you so you can get the SVG, or you can visit amyromeo.com/holiday to see all of the event's designs. Let's go over the tools and materials we'll be using to make these Nutcracker bookmarks. I'll be using the Cricut Maker today, but you could use the Maker 3, the Explorer Air 2, the Explorer 3, the Cricut Joy, or even the new Cricut Joy Extra, because we'll be cutting faux leather using the standard fine point blade that's included on all of those machines. So this project has two basic materials. The first is a faux leather base, and then the second is heat transfer vinyl. You could swap out cardstock for the faux leather if you wanted to, and you could also use permanent vinyl in this project if that's what you preferred. So the faux leather that I'm using, I'll be using white, but you can use any color of your choice. This comes on a roll. This is from Amazon, and I'll leave links to all of my materials for you. You can also use faux leather on a sheet. The heat transfer vinyls that I'll be using, I have an assortment of colors, and you can really customize your Nutcracker with whatever colors you'd like. I'll have some solids, I have some glitters, and I'll be showing you how to add some foil iron-on to the back of the faux leather to make the back of the bookmark look more finished and professional. It'll also add some structure, but it won't increase the thickness of the bookmark. I wanted to mention also this is a great project for using up little scraps of vinyl that you have, because there are some layers that are very small pieces and you'll be able to get away with just using a scrap, which is awesome. So to apply the heat transfer vinyl to the faux leather, I'll be using the Easy Press Mini set on the low setting, which is just that first line. You can also use a regular Easy Press set to about 265 degrees. I'll be using a heat pressing pad to protect my surface, and then a cover sheet. This is a Teflon sheet that I've trimmed down to a smaller size. You could also use butcher paper or parchment paper. To cut the faux leather, I'll use the purple strong grip cutting mat, and to cut the vinyl, I'll use the green standard grip cutting mat. If you are using either of the Joy machines, the green Joy size mats will work just fine for this project. Some other things we'll be using: some blue painter's tape to help us get good faux leather cuts. I'll be using some craft scissors, and I also like to have some small detailed scissors on hand. These are curved scissors that are good for trimming up fuzzies on the edge of faux leather. And you'll also want a weeding tool. You could use a hook tool or a pin pen. It's up to you. Finally, to finish off our bookmark, we'll be using a little tassel. These are also from Amazon, and I love the assorted colors in this pack. These are really easy to use, and I'll show you how to do these when we finish up our bookmark. So let's hop into Design Space, and I'll show you all the layers, and we'll start to cut out our vinyl and faux leather mats so we can assemble our project. So starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload and then Upload Image, and you'll browse to where the unzipped SVG file is for this project. Click on it to select it and click Open. You'll see a preview of the designs that I've created for you. Then click Upload and select them here from your recent uploads row and click Add to Canvas. So you can see the two Nutcrackers I've designed. They're a little different, but they will both be cut and made in the exact same way. The bottom white outline that you see will cut from faux leather, and then we'll be applying the different colors of heat transfer vinyl or permanent vinyl in a certain order to create the Nutcracker look. In your download folder, you'll have a layering guide, which is a graphic that shows you what order to place the designs in. So don't worry, I know it looks a little complicated, but we'll do it step by step, and it's going to be really fun and easy. So we have our little hole here for the tassel, and what I'm going to do first is ungroup the two Nutcracker shapes. Because they're going to be made in the exact same way, I'm going to delete one of them, and I'll demonstrate how to make just one so we keep this project simple. I also wanted to show you two different color options. So you could do some pastels, some more modern colors of Nutcrackers, or you could do traditional colors if that's your choice. Another thing I wanted to mention was I've grouped a lot of these very small elements for you. So when they cut, they'll cut together and it'll make it easier for you to assemble this project. So for example, all of the gold elements on this Nutcracker are connected in Design Space. So when you cut out this vinyl layer, all of these elements will be in place and you'll just have to place the gold layer one time, press it, and all of the little shapes will be done at once. So I hope that's helpful to you. We'll go ahead and delete this one and I'll show you how to make this one. So we don't need to resize these. These are perfectly sized for bookmarks. We'll just go ahead and click the Make It button. We're cutting our materials on a mat. And Design Space will bring in all of our different colors on different layers in our mat preview screen. So the first thing we want to do is go through and mirror each mat, and that's because heat transfer vinyl and faux leather cut in reverse. If you were using permanent vinyl instead of heat transfer vinyl for this project, then you would not need to mirror the mats. Then I'll click back up here on my faux leather mat. I like to drag my faux leather shapes a little bit away from the edges on the mat because we'll be taping blue painter's tape all around, and I want to have a little room for that. This is also a good time to note what size faux leather you'll need to cut out your Nutcracker shape completely. Looks like I need a piece of faux leather just over 3.5 inches wide and about 7 inches long. Then we'll just go through each of our mats, kind of pull them away from the edges just a little bit, confirm that they're mirrored. And here's that gold mat I was mentioning earlier. See how all of the little gold shapes are connected? When you cut this and you weed it out, don't trim these shapes apart. Just leave them exactly where they are, and it'll make pressing the layers for this project so much easier. There we go. So all of my mats are mirrored and I've arranged the shapes on the mat a little bit. I'll click back on the faux leather mat because I like to cut that one first, and I'll click continue. So the faux leather mat will cut using the faux leather paper thin setting with more pressure. And here's that reminder that we're just using the regular fine point blade. If you don't have faux leather paper thin bookmarked here as a setting like I do, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. Keep in mind, if you're using the Explorer Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to custom before you can find this setting. Then for the different vinyl mats, we'll just use the manufacturer's recommended cut setting for that material. So for my regular vinyl mats, I'll use the vinyl setting with default pressure. For the foil iron-on, I'll use the foil iron-on setting with default pressure. And then for the glitter vinyl that I'll be using, it is the Caesar glitter, which is thicker. So I will use the glitter vinyl setting with default pressure, and I will repeat the cut one time. So let's hop back over to my overhead camera. We'll begin to cut out our mats. First, I want to show you how to apply that foil iron-on to the back of the faux leather before we cut. And then we'll cut out our vinyl mats and we'll start to assemble our bookmark. So I've already trimmed my faux leather down to that piece size I noted in the mat preview screen. And then I've also cut a just slightly smaller piece of the foil iron-on. You could also use regular heat transfer vinyl if you prefer. But what we're going to do is place the faux leather and the foil iron-on back to back so that we can press the foil iron-on onto the faux leather before we make our cut. So what I'm going to do is just place them like that. My Easy Press Mini is set to the low setting, and I'm going to just cover with my little Teflon sheet and press all over the back. We want to aim for about 10 seconds of pressure on every part so that we can get a really nice bond between the foil iron-on and the faux leather. So once we've pressed all over, we want to keep the faux leather flat if we can, and then just lift up the corner of the clear cover sheet that covers up the foil iron-on. And we want to very slowly peel back. And as you're peeling, just check and see if that vinyl lifts or bubbles, then you can place the clear cover sheet right back down and continue pressing. But that looks pretty good. And the reason we wanted to keep the faux leather flat was to try and keep our foil iron-on wrinkle free. So now that I've pressed it one time, you can kind of start to see the texture of the faux leather coming through, which is perfect. That tells us we have a really good bond between the iron-on and the faux leather. But I want to just cover and press for a few more seconds just to be sure, now that we've removed that thick, clear cover sheet. And after that second press, we can see even more of that texture coming through. So I'm just going to place this underneath my heat pressing pad for just a moment. I'm going to grab my purple strong grip cutting mat, and I also want my blue painter's tape. And we're going to place the faux leather side down on our purple strong grip mat. And then we'll use that blue painter's tape to tape the faux leather down on all sides. The blue painter's tape won't leave a residue on our mat or on our material like something like masking tape would. Also, you can peel up these pieces and reuse them several times before you need to throw them away. So we have our faux leather paper thin setting with more pressure all set to go. So we'll just load the mat and begin the cut. So the cut has run one time, and what we want to do is check the cut because we can always repeat the cut as needed. So I like to use my sharp weeding tool just to get under the edge of my shape and try and lift it up. That looks pretty good, but if while you're lifting the faux leather is pulling or sticking down to the mat, that means the cut has not gone all the way through, and we can just rerun the cut again. To do that on the Maker and the Explorer machines, you'll just press that cut button again as long as you have not unloaded your mat. On the Cricut Joy, the option to rerun the cut will be on your screen in Design Space. So we'll go ahead and unload the mat because this cut looks pretty good. And we'll remove our shape. There's our little bookmark shape. Remember to pop out that little hole at the top. And you could see as the blade went through, it created a little bit of a ridge all around the shape. So I'm just going to press out those ridges one more time, just for a few seconds all over with my Easy Press Mini again. There we go, and now the edges are nice and flat. So I'm going to return to Design Space and begin to cut out the heat transfer vinyl mats. Again, I'll be cutting those using the manufacturer's recommended cut settings. And once I've cut out all of the mats, then we'll start to assemble the bookmark in layers, and I'll show you some great tips and tricks as we layer to make this project fun and easy for you. So I finished cutting and weeding all of the vinyl layers, and I told you I had some tips to make this process easy and quick for you. So the first is I'm going to recommend that you look at that layering guide, which is in your download folder where your SVG is, and it's going to show you all of the layers for this project, and then it's going to have numbers. So layer number 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, etc. The other thing I recommend is that you pull up the original design on your canvas in Cricut Design Space, because that has all of the layers on the layers panel on the right hand side. It shows you the bottom layer, which is the faux leather, then it shows you the next layer, which is the face, the next layer, which is the nose and the smile, and then I've used those layers and I've arranged all of the vinyl layers here on my work area so they're in order as well. So then it's the red layer, the blue layer, the gold layer, and then the black layer is the very top. So that being said, even though I know the order of the layers, when we start pressing our layers, they sort of connect together like puzzle pieces. And the way to make sure that all of our puzzle pieces fit together right before we start pressing is to do something I call dry fitting. So what we're going to do is place our layers on top of each other to get them arranged correctly, especially these two. We need to get these two in place correctly so when we build our other layers, our Nutcracker comes out nicely. And the reason is, here's his little face and his hands, and it's hard to know exactly where to put it on this base here. So generally it's going to go about here with the two little hands sort of close to the bottom here with some, some border around. but we just want to be sure. So we're going to use our black layer to help us dry fit and get this exactly where we want it to be. So we'll move aside our little nutcracker. First thing we're going to do is place our little face and hands. I have my nose ready to go, and I'll show you what to do with that in just a moment. And then we have our little boots and hair and eyes and beard layer. So what I'm going to do is just place this black layer on top of the face layer, trying to keep the beard and the boots centered in between the little hands here. See? Now what we want to do is peel back a little bit of that black layer, and I want to line up the nose and the mouth, and they go, and I'm doing this because this layer goes here, but it needs to line up with some of these elements on the face. So I've kind of stuck it under there. Then when I roll this back, everything lines up. And the reason we're doing this is going to help us know where to put this bottom face layer. And let me show you. So now if we line up our 3 little dry fit layers, there we go. Our boots are down here. You've got a little even border all the way around. And up here, we've got that little even border around the hair. And now our face is popped into place. So we're going to very carefully peel away the black layer. Put it back over here. And we're going to carefully peel away our little nose layer here. And then we're left with what we know will be correct placement for the face and the hands. Okay. Now we're going to cover with our little cover sheet and press for about 10 seconds all over to really get that vinyl to adhere to the faux leather. Okay. Now I'm going to hold the faux leather flat and just start to peel away that clear cover sheet. And we have our first layer pressed, and since we dry fit it and we checked it with the top layer, we know that it's in the perfect placement to be able to arrange all the other layers so our nutcracker comes out perfectly. Okay, so we do need to get our little nose and cheeks and mouth back into position. So again, we'll dry fit just for a moment with our little black layer here. Okay, so I have those two. Again, I'm just laying that on. And now I will remove the black layer while leaving the little nose and face layer. So these are the 2 hardest layers. Everything else is going to be a piece of cake. So now we'll just press again. I would say 7 to 10 seconds. And there we go. So next, again, referring to your layering guide or your screen in Design Space, is the red layer, or whatever layer you've chosen to make the jacket and the hat. So here we're going to be able to line up that little cutout hole that's at the top. And again, we're always trying to leave a little even border, an even border of that white faux leather. It should be even on both sides, even all around. And that looks good. Now we'll press. There we go. Now it's time for this blue layer or whatever layer you've chosen for the top of the hat and the pants. And because we got our face, we spent some extra time getting our face and our head and hands in the proper placement. You can see how now these layers are all coming together. The little cuffs here are right on top of the hands. The little brim of the hat is right on top of the face. Perfect. So we'll cover and press. There we go. Now we want to do the gold layer. And if you look back on your original art in Design Space, you can see that the beard is layered on top of the gold layer. So that's why we're doing that black layer last and the gold layer second to last. So before you press this layer, just make sure that these little shoulder pieces are right on the shoulder. The little buttons are in the corners of the cuffs. Your little belt buckle lines up, and this part is also even and centered on the hat. There we go. And now the last layer is going to be the black layer. I wanted to mention, I do have all these shapes grouped together for you, just like a lot of these shapes that were grouped together. However, if your layering is off a little bit, that's okay. You can start trimming some of your shapes apart and just place them individually. So don't worry about that. So here I'm trying to line up the boots at the bottom. Also line up the hair at the top. And you can see how the beard overlaps the little gold lines here. That looks pretty good. So now we'll just finish pressing our last layer. So we'll just slowly peel back. And that looks great. So this is warm. What I recommend is to place your little bookmark underneath something flat and cool, just to let it cool flat for just a moment. And I'm going to pick out my little bookmark tassel. I love these assortment packs because they're all different colors in here, and you can really match them to however you've customized your Nutcracker bookmark. So once your little bookmark is cool, I'm going to choose a tassel color. I think I like the blue. And all we're going to do is thread the loop into the hole. Open up that loop with our fingers and then thread the tassel into the loop and pull. Isn't that cute? And here's how both of the finished bookmarks look together. I hope you like this project, and if you want to see the other great projects I've been creating and sharing in my holiday faux leather crafting event, I'll leave a link for you so you can check out all of the videos. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.